Hey, boys and girls, thank you for joining me for chapter 13 on the wings of a dove. Here's the illustration. The sun had just risen when the two children woke up. Jake got out of bed and opened the window to take a breath of fresh air. He put his head out, shut his eyes, and breathed in deeply. When he opened his eyes, he saw a beautiful white dove a few feet away from him on the roof. Cautiously, Jake turned around and whispered to his sister, "Hey, Emily, come here. Look at this dove. Be quiet so you won't scare it away." Emily carefully tiptoed over to the window, with Samson trailing behind her. The curious pup stood up on his hind paws, trying unsuccessfully to see out the window. "Look, Jake, there's something wrapped around her ankle," she said softly. "Come here, pretty birdie." She remembered the biscuit she had saved from the day before and reached into her pocket. She tore off a small morsel, then threw it in the direction of the dove. It strutted over gracefully and pecked at the biscuit. She continued little by little until it made its way up to the window sill. Emily handed the biscuit to Jake so he could continue to feed it. She gently reached out her hands to unwrap the little paper above the dove's foot. Surprisingly, it didn't fly away. "What a tame little bird you are," she said softly. Emily unrolled the tiny piece of paper and read the message on it. It says, "Jesus loves you." "Hey, I've got an idea," Jake exclaimed. "Keep feeding the bird while I look and see if there's paper and pencil in one of these drawers." Samson followed him as he searched. "No paper," he moaned. The frisky pup ran over to the door, scratching excitedly. "Are you wanting me to open the door?" Jake said. As soon as he opened it, Samson skidded quickly over to Sebastian's study and jumped up at the doorknob. "Good idea, boy. I forgot there was a desk in there." Sure enough, there was a pen and paper in the drawer. They quickly ran back to the bedroom and tore off a small piece of paper. Jake read out loud as he wrote, "Help! Kidnapped! At Old Slate Estate. Jacob and Emily McCoy." Very slowly and carefully, he rolled up the message and attached it to the bird's leg. Immediately, the little dove cooed and flew away. The children heard footsteps approaching. Jake quickly threw the paper and pen under the bed, hoping that Sonny wouldn't suspect anything. Samson ran under the bed after it as Sonny opened the door. "We overslept," he announced wearily. "Our friends didn't appreciate your intrusion of Father's study. They told me they heard you spying around." Emily and Jake glanced at each other with horror and disbelief. Could it be that Sonny can actually communicate with insects? Suddenly, little Samson pranced out on their side of the bed with a pen in his mouth, wagging his tail. The children nervously tried to ignore the pup, hoping he wouldn't be noticed. "Today is an important day," Sonny continued. "Fortunately for you, we don't have time for your well-deserved punishment. There's no time for you to sit for breakfast. Here's 2 biscuits for you to eat on the way." "What about Samson? Can he have some breakfast too?" Emily inquired. "We don't have time to worry about such things," Sonny stated coldly. "Follow me to our flower garden." As Sonny turned around to exit, the happy puppy brought the pen to Jake. He slipped it into his pocket, relieved that Sonny didn't see it. They followed hastily behind, trotting down the stairs. As they passed through the dining room, Sonny opened the bird cage. "Eduardo, come," he commanded. The crow obediently jumped to his shoulder. Samson growled at him, and the crow opened his mouth and nipped in the little dog's direction. Jacob noticed a platter of sausage on the counter beside the door and quickly snatched up a few pieces for their hungry pet. As they walked out to the flower garden, Sonny handed them each a bushel basket. "Fill up the basket with honeysuckle," he told them. "Press down and pack in as many as you can. Then empty them into the compressor. After you both have filled 10 baskets, you may have lunch." He looked at the crow. "Guard them, Eduardo." The crow flew over to a nearby tree. Samson ran after him, jumping up and down against the tree, barking. After Sonny left, Jake called to Samson and fed him a sausage. The little dog seemed grateful as he hungrily devoured his breakfast. "Maybe now would be a good time to slip over to the cornfield and get a few corn cobs to distract the crows with," Emily suggested. "You stay here, and maybe Eduardo will leave me alone," Jake replied. As he slowly made his way over to the cornfield, Eduardo flew closer to him. Jacob stopped for a few seconds, then tried to continue. Eduardo started to call, "Work!" Jake could see the bird was getting agitated, so he decided to return to Emily and try again later. The two children discussed their situation together as they picked honeysuckle. "Okay," Jake thought aloud. "Last night, Mother Slade said they were going to have us gather up honeysuckle for their nectar compound. She talked about revenge on the town of Homestead, and she also said a station wagon would have more room in the back for their secret weapon. How does all that fit together?" "Honeysuckle nectar doesn't explode, does it?" Emily questioned. Jacob burst into laughter. "Oh, sure, Emily. Let's keep the bees away. They might buzz too close and ignite a flame." Emily tried to ignore his sarcasm. "Well, maybe they're going to mix honeysuckle nectar with something that does explode, like some kind of perfume bomb." Just then a bee landed on her blouse. Emily was frightened and swished it away. "I wish these bees would leave me alone," she squealed. "They're attracted to the smell of the honeysuckle, and they probably think your red blouse is a big flower," Jake said. "Hey, didn't Sonny say his red sports car was the right color to carry out their plan?" Emily gasped. "The killer bees. Maybe they're going to use the red car and the honeysuckle nectar to lure the bees into Homestead." "That's got to be it," Jake agreed. That's probably why Mother Slade said the plagues on Egypt was the only Bible study she was interested in. Maybe they're going to bring in all of those giant hissing cockroaches too. Instead of a plague of gnats and locusts, it would be a plague of killer bees and giant roaches. "How can we stop them?" Emily wondered. "I don't have a clue," Jake replied. Just a mile away from the Slade estate, Betsy Bliss walked out on her deck behind her house. She was sipping hot tea, enjoying the morning sun. She had a pet white dove that she named Joy. Every morning she would send her out with the same note, hoping someone would read it. The cheerful bird flew up and landed on the chair she was sitting on. "There you are, my tiny friend. Who did you see this morning, Joy? Did they read our special message?" Miss Bliss said with a gentle smile. "Hey, what have you got there? This is not the same piece of paper I wrote on." She unwrapped the note and read it. "Oh my goodness," she gasped. "Jacob and Emily McCoy. They're the two kidnapped children reported on last night's news." She stopped and thought for a moment. "I knew that man looked familiar. That was Sonny Slade. I haven't seen him since his mother took him out of Sunday school as a child. I need to call the authorities right away." So now we're going to read the reading comprehension questions here. So number 1, What is the little dove's name? Number 2. What did Jacob say to Emily at the end of chapter 12? And we can look back really quickly. And here it says that Emily started crying, and Jacob whispered, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." So remember the little dove's name who landed on the roof the next morning? Okay, now number 3. How did Samson help the children send out a note to be rescued? Number 4. Why might the bee have landed on Emily's blouse? Number 5. What do the children think Sonny and Mother Slade are going to do to the people in the town of Homestead? And our last question, number 6. Why does Jake think the plagues on Egypt were the only thing in the Bible that Mother Slade was interested in? So I hope you can join me again for chapter 14, The Detective Investigates. Hope to see you then.